Hello, my name is AnaMaria Rivera, and this short video intends to explain my intention for research. It is still at a very rough draft stages, my dissertation proposal, but this is an exercise to get to clarity on some of the ideas by sharing them. The name of the topic is Creating Empowered and Flourishing Adults. And it all started with my drive and commitment to be a transformational parent and also to be a transformational teacher, but mainly focused on my role as a parent. This topic had a grip for 2 years on me that I couldn't really let go of. The problem with the grip was that at points it became a trap for me. Almost an ontological trap, in which I was almost obsessed with causation. What creates empowered adults? What can you do as a parent to create empowered adults? The thing is that there is enough evidence that there are many happy children to which you provide happy lives that at the end are not happy adults necessarily. There's also a lot of evidence in the country. There's people who have really traumatic childhood events and childhood experiences, but they end up somehow transcending that and becoming empowered adults. So I did not want to follow into the trap of causation. How I exited this trap was by thinking about correlation. That really pulled me out, and it keeps pulling me out every time in my mindset, I kind of like try to go back to what can you do as a parent so that it results in a happy adult, which is not the focus of this research. So the focus of this research is on finding experiences that in life that correlate, not cause, but correlate to a life of empowered and flourished adults. The question that I will be exploring in the topic, the main question is, what are some life experiences that correlate to a life of empowerment and flourishing? So that's the main question. The second topic that I want to share with you in this video is what literature have I researched and what I have found so far on this topic. And for that, I really cut the topic into 3 parts. The first part is transformational leadership. The second part is positive psychology, and the third part is transformational parenting and teaching. And then we'll see how all of these come together. In terms of transformational leadership starts and comes from the traditional leadership approach, which is an approach of there's a leader who knows where to go, what to do, and how to do it. And there are followers. And these followers are listening for the wisdom of the leader. And that's really good in intention and in spirit. However, the transformational leadership evolved more from a Newtonian cause-effect, in which the leader is the cause and there's an effect in the followers, which Baz and Reggio, for instance, still have, to more quantum perspective. So I read some of Goswami and what he expresses as non-local consciousness and oneness. So there's not you and me, there's not the leader and the follower, but there's this one thing, there's this Ubuntu effect. I am because you are. Whatever I do for you, that's going to be reflected on me. Then that happens in an area of dialogue. And I looked at Isaacs for that, and dialogue is the space in which this Ubuntu, this non-local consciousness gets created. And then Owen, when he talks about communities, as opposed to force. Why this? Because the experiences in transformation, the experiences that are transformational in life have this component. What can we ultimately observe from the experiences that we will be analyzing in terms of transformational leadership. Transformational spirit also presents an evolution from being only a mind exercise in which the leader thinks and there's this strategic wisdom that gets passed on, to being also a mind exercise, but a hand and heart and hunch exercise. And for this, I've read Pearson, and Sharma has a lot on this topic, and also Ed Hart and Jensen and the people who have done the work with him. Basically, leadership is not about telling people what to do, but about creating a future that was not going to happen. And for that creation of the future that was not going to happen, the leader needs to have all integral parts of his being involved, not just the head, but the mind and the heart. Further literature and authors to be researched include Sorokin on unconditional loving, Peter Block, Deepak Chopra, Margaret Willey, Eckhart Tolle, David Hawkins, Byron Katie, David Ford, Marianne Williamson, Thich Nhat Hanh, Tara Brach, Paul Woodruff. More on this transformational leadership literature. On the second block, which is on positive psychology, basically positive psychology has evolved dramatically in the past 14 years, 15 years, from curing a disease into creating happiness. And one of the fathers of positive psychology is Martin Seligman. He says the goal of positive psychology and well-being theory, in contrast, is plural and importantly different. It is to increase the amount of flourishing in your own life and on the planet. So this research gears exactly to that. What are the experiences that have the potential to increase that amount of flourishing in the planet? So he says, Seligman says, flourishing should be a measure, and he coins PERMA as the measure for flourishing. And PERMA is an acronym for positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And he has developed a test called the PERMA test, and it's administered by UPenn, and it's free and it's online. And I compare it with other different measures of well-being, like the flourishing scale, the positive and negative experience scale, SPAN, the psychological well-being test, the positive thinking scale, and I believe that the PERMA test measures more directly exactly the flourishing, which is what we are observing. The third component of the literature research was on parenting and teaching. And again, here is the trap, not look for causation, but for correlation. There's a lot of literature on empowered adults with traumatic childhood, and there's a lot of literature on happy children with that turn into unhappy adults. But I'm more interested in looking for authors that really talk about transformational parenting. And a few of them that I have found are Hollowell, who talks about the connection of the adult. Doesn't have to be a parent, it could be any significant adult, could be a teacher or other, but there's a connection, and in that connection there's unlimited, unconditional loving that is giving back and forth, giving and receiving, because this is a quantum perspective at the core of a child that is empowered. Then Dr. Tabari talks about conscious parenting as a partnership, a spiritual partnership between the child and the parent, also the teacher, but mostly the child and the parent. She says, in fact, it is my experience that the relationship between parent and child exists for the primary purpose of the parent's transformation and only secondarily for the raising of the child. What I found very interesting in socializing and sharing this research was that every time I said, I'm interested in exploring transformational parenting, the listening was that who was going to transform was the child. And the key here is that who is intending to transform is the adult. And what is at the core? Well, that's what we will find out. What is at the core of those experiences that correlate to a life of flourishing? Is it a transformed parent? Is it a transformed adult? What was the being of that person? And then Montessori, in terms of teaching, Maria Montessori says the child is at the center of the learning experience, and respecting and honoring the dignity and the light in that child is what transformational teaching and parenting is all about. So there's also further authors to be explored more in detail: Seligman, Maria Montessori, Lee Loswick, and any other research on transformational parenting, but not just parenting, transformational parenting. The last topic I want to talk about on this section, on this video, is on methodology. My own ontology is I'm a mother of a 4-year-old child who I adore and who I owe my life to. And the danger with my ontology is that I do not want to contaminate my research looking for that causation in parenting. And I have to bring my own awareness that I am looking for experiences that that correlate to a life of empowerment, and that those could come from any point in life, from anywhere, and I'm just looking to see what patterns are there. If at the end of the day some conclusions could be drawn on those experiences, and some parents are interested in allowing for those experiences to be part of the life of the child, and that ultimately contributes in a big sense to a life of flourishing, well, that would be fantastic. But there's this conclusion that I have arrived for myself before starting this research, that even if you provide all those experiences, it does not guarantee anything, because we're not looking for causation, we're not examining for that, and we're not aiming to solve that causation question. So this would be qualitative research. My own personal philosophical perspective is rooted on feminism and postmodernism, and this would be a phenomenological research in which the phenomenon that we will be analyzing are those experiences that correlate to a life of flourishing. So flourishing is the phenomenon that we are analyzing, and the experiences of that. And inside of those experiences, I'm also interested in looking and listening for what was the ontology of those involved in the experiences. Well, who were, and what was their ontology? Who were they being in terms of the adults or the peers or even the person? Who were they being when those experiences happened? I want to see the correlation there between also not just the experience as in the phenomenological part of it, but in the being, the ways of being, which goes to the ontology of it. This would be a mixed methods research. It will use narrative inquiry. And the way we'll use it is I will send out an invitation for participants who feel that they are live a life of flourishing and empowerment. They will take the PERMA test from UPenn, designed by Martin Seligman, and if they score 8 or more on a 1 to 10 scale, they will be called to the phase 2 of the research, which will be listening to their stories. There will be oral stories, and it could be either via Skype or FaceTime, but I would much rather just have the conversations in person. And those conversations will be transcribed, coded, and analyzed for conclusions. I found this quote that I really liked, and I'm sorry, I am looking for 10 to 15 final participants on those stories. And to close, I found a quote that I really like to keep in my heart throughout this research. It's from Harrison Owen, and it's the 4 principles that he shares, which are: whoever comes is the right people, whatever happens is the only thing that could have happened, whenever it starts is the right time, and when it's over, it's over. So the research, the sampling, what will happen in the narration of the stories will be absolutely all perfect. And my role here is to listen to those stories and learn from them, finding the patterns that maybe are correlated with the life of flourishing and empowerment.